I don't see you guys on the Zoom. Are you gonna stay off, or do you know?
I'm not
Who?
going on.
No.
No, I probably won't.
Okay.
I wasn't planning on it.
Okay. I was expecting Jean Russell to be on, but she's not here, so.
If you can do the slides from over there.
Yeah,
Usually when I try to share my screen, bad things happen.
Oh, except I've got a, oh, I made myself host.
Do you need me to hop on?
No, I got it.
I don't know if hybrid is a blessing or a curse sometimes, truthfully. Like,
Recording in progress.
Hey,
oh, there's
Jean.
Jean.
All right.
Yeah, we'll just hop in.
Okay. Good evening. Today is Wednesday, November 5th. It is 7 p.m. and this is a meeting of the Lunenburg Capital Planning Committee. In accordance, and I'm calling this meeting to order, in accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and will be available to be found on the Lunenburg Access YouTube channel after the meeting. To view remotely, you can use the Zoom link that is found in the agenda, which is posted on the town website and at Town Hall. The agenda lists all topics which may be discussed at the meeting and are those reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by the open meeting law. So having called the meeting to order, the next item on the agenda is public comment. Is there any public comment? All right, seeing none, we will move to Chair's report. My Chair's report is very brief. This week, Chris Menard informed me that he is not going to be able to attend at least this week and next week due to business travel, but he has asked for members of the Finance Committee to sit in on the meetings and perhaps to ask questions as needed on his behalf. I thought that was a good idea and accepted that proposal on behalf of the committee. And tonight, Jean Russell will be joining us remotely in that capacity. So welcome, Jean. Your video is very cloudy, so.
She's there somewhere.
Yeah, I'm sure you're back there somewhere in the fog. Okay. Also, this week I had hoped to put together a spreadsheet that sort of consolidates all of the requests in a way that we can look at both the FY27 in one tab and do our work in terms of prioritizing, but also look more broadly at the out years and have a conversation, hopefully in December or January, in terms of providing some feedback to the department heads about requests that sit beyond FY27. Unfortunately, I am not there yet. I have got a spreadsheet formatted and that's as far as I've gone. So bear with me on that, and ideally by next week I'll have something to share, and we'll also have presentations from, who do we have next week?
Facilities.
Just facilities next week.
Yeah, I think that's
Okay.
it.
All right, so, and then we'll be off and running. So we started a little late, but we might actually get this thing back on track when it's all said and done. So, Madam Town Manager, do you have a report?
I do not.
Okay, well, moving right along then. Okay, Chief Sullivan, you are first in the chute. Let me figure out how to share again.
Probably better luck than I do.
I did it once, so I'm sure I can do it again. How's that?
Looks good.
A lot quicker than I would have gotten it.
All right, Chief.
All right, good evening. If you can go to the next slide. Again, this is for the FY27 plan with an outlook out to FY37 for ours. Some changes from last year's plan. The main ones are moving Squad 3, the rescue pumper, which is one of the big ticket items, out to FY '29 that I'll explain. Moved up the replacement of one of the brush trucks, engine 2, to this year, and moving car 1, which is the chief's car, and the pickup truck out to FY '20 and '30 respectively, mostly because they're running in real good shape and we don't have any issues with them right now. So, next slide. So that's an overview of the whole plan, down through to FY '37. I'll touch on each one of those as we go along. So, next slide. So FY '27, main thing for us this year is replacing engine 2, which is our light to medium brush truck at around $335,000. We went for an assistance to firefighters grant. It's a federal grant for that truck this year. 99.9% sure we did not get it. There were a few departments that were awarded, and then the federal government shut down and you can't get a hold of anybody to answer a phone. I was told they did everything in one round, but that was by a chief that received an award. I don't know that 100%. There was always a small, minute point that we might see something on it, but I'm not holding my breath. Replacement, this truck's bumped along on the capital plan for a while. We've moved it out because it wasn't a super high-use vehicle. What we've seen is, with everything that's been going on with brush fires, it's picked up, and the wear and tear on it has been noticeable. And that last year, we had to redo most of the front end in the truck, ball joints, tie rod ends, when it went into a death wobble on me going down the road.
Sorry. Keep going, keep going.
This year, it's gone on 2 out-of-town runs. First call, we had to replace the alternator in it. Second call, we thought it was a radiator hose. Now it's a radiator hose, a water pump, and it's what we do for badly needing a tune-up. So it's out of service at Highway Department right now. So we're looking at, the discussion's been a complete replacement. The picture on the screen, the top one is the existing vehicle, the bottom one is an example of a replacement vehicle. It wouldn't be that. In fact, it wouldn't be a 4-door, it'd probably be a cab and a half. But again, next slide. It's a light medium forest fire unit for us. It's designed and equipped to go off-road where the bigger trucks can't. It's basically an F550 chassis, all-wheel drive, lifted up with the off-road tires. We're seeing increased call-outs. I expected to see a lot more this year. We're still in a drought, but the rain has kept it from at least getting fires started. We were seeing it more earlier in the season and earlier in the spring. Don't know what we're gonna get, but it's a concern. And this new unit would double the water carrying capacity from the existing truck. It would also increase the pump size. It would also add some storage capacity. The other truck has no space to put protective clothing beyond what the guys are wearing in the truck. And that a lot of stuff is kind of jammed onto it. And that this would give us a little bit more room. Next slide. I'm looking at my screen, not that one.
Yeah.
It would have a prime mover capability, i.e. can tow a trailer like the existing truck. Gives us some year-round functionality for service calls, arcing wires, things like that. Can give us access in where some of the larger vehicles can't go. It certainly gives us an increased reliability and over the other truck that we're finding the other truck's spending a lot of time in the shop. Definitely increased safety. This truck's, the existing vehicle's a 1989. It does not have air brakes. It does not have anti-lock brakes. And it has seat belts, which is encouraging. Like I said, the existing truck right now is 36 years old. We had talked about trying to do a remount on the body, and we would still be in the point of still having the smaller pump, smaller tank, less storage space. It would gain us a chassis, but it wouldn't gain us much of anything else. We've looked at it. We bounced that around internally for a while, and it's just, I think it's gonna be better to just look at replacing the whole vehicle.
Is this the truck that was repurposed at some point, or was that a different?
That's
older
the
truck?
water rescue truck,
Okay.
which is, that's still in process.
Okay.
Because we're using the ambulance for,
Yeah.
after we got the new one, we had to put the old one back in service for a while, so.
Okay.
But I think, you can go to the next slide. I think that was it on engine 2.
Can I ask a question for
Yeah.
you? So when you talk about double the pump size and double the water size, can you just explain for those that might be listening, what the impact to the operations and attack?
The existing truck runs 150 gallons of water and has about 150 gallon per minute pump. Originally, that truck carried more water and it was very overweight. When we redesigned it, and that we dropped the amount of water because we were concerned about the truck being overloaded, and that 150 gallons of water, even on a brush fire, doesn't buy us a lot of time, and that the pump is limited. The pump is also, while it comes on that module, at the time it was not fire service grade. We've already had to replace all the valves on it. We've had to do some work on it. The new unit would carry 300 gallons of water. The pump would be about 200, 250 gallon capacity, and it's a fire pump. It's got different brass valves that don't corrode and break within a couple of years. Plus, it's still the same foam capacity.
How frequently do you get calls for, you know, a call that would require this type of equipment? You know, I mean, I know there's brush fires all the time, but it's people who are doing stuff in their backyard that gets out of control. But you can drive a normal fire truck up to that,
Sometimes
right?
you can't. So we've been fortunate. We haven't been out in the woods a lot. We probably had around a dozen. And the other thing is that we haven't used this truck as much because she's been getting tired.
Mhm.
We've taken it out a couple times, put it in four-wheel drive, and then needed the mechanic and a sledgehammer to get it out of four-wheel drive because it jammed in. It's an old technology. You know, there was a discussion at one point, if you remember the slides from last year, about, you know, modifying the pickup truck into that and just replacing the pickup. The problem with that is it's gonna put the weight to about the maximum on that chassis, and you're gonna lose almost all your storage space. That truck has a utility body, but the compartments are about that deep. Would have no place to put hose on it. We can only carry minimum tools. It would actually be taking a step backwards. And that truck still sees use as a snowplow for us for clearing the parking lot. This truck would not be doing that.
Do you have an idea what the relative cost would be of actually going down that path to retrofit a pickup and then buy a new pickup?
It would be less than that, but I think you're probably still in the 100, 120 by the time you're all done. So, and you're getting a lesser function vehicle.
Yeah.
And a vehicle that's probably more maxed out on its weight carrying
Because
capacity.
the pickup is an F-350?
It's an F-350 single rear wheel, so 10,000 GVW. This truck would be an F-550, so it's probably around a 17 to 18,000 pound chassis. So it would have some wiggle room
Yeah.
on its weight. So
What will become of the old vehicle?
it will go out to municipal bid, and I probably know several people that will be standing in line to get it. Because it's,
What do you think?
Just to
you're
brag that they
gonna
own it.
get?
I don't know, I'm not a car salesman. I think
Neither
something,
am I.
yeah, it's, you know, with municipal bid, I don't know, I don't deal with that, but I'm guessing if you got $4 or $5 grand, you'd be lucky.
Okay.
Yeah.
It really can surprise you sometimes, things that you're praying that they'll come and take off your lot for $1. There's a bidding war for some reason, but sometimes with the fire items, the collectors can get interested.
And this truck is it's not something that a collector would be after.
So-
It's a GMC chassis with a farm body and a skid unit on it, so there's no,
Yeah, but it's
you know, I'm into
it's 89
antiques.
square body though.
Right, I'm into antiques, fire trucks and that, and it's not something that somebody would be looking for. Somebody would be looking for it because it's a truck with a farm body and that take it out of their farm and put it to work. Yeah, it's definitely not something we're hanging on to.
Okay.
So, any other questions on engine 2? If not, next slide. So going out beyond FY27, FY28, we'll be looking at replacing the 2019 ambulance at an estimated cost of $615,850. That's based on the pricing of, let me get this right, the pricing of the ambulance that we have now that was ordered in 2023 with a 5% per year increase that I think I sent out to everybody there, which is where I based it. Yeah, it's Rescue 1 from FY24. That's a planned replacement, and as I mentioned last year, my thought would be, whether I'm there to see it through or not, would be to make this truck a mechanical spare. You would hang on to it, keep it as a mechanical spare. So ultimately what you would see on the ambulance, right now ambulances are a 10-year lifespan for us, 5 years frontline, 5 years backup. And if you can go to the next slide, I'll just kind of touch on that. So basically what you would get out of this would be, ultimately you'd get 12 years out of a vehicle. You'd get 4 years as a primary ambulance, heaviest usage, I'd throw out a number of, say, we're doing around 1,300 ambulance calls a year. Primary ambulance does about 85% of them, so there's probably about, roughly 1,000 of them. The backup ambulance would be 4 years, that one's seeing about 300 calls a year or so. And then 4 years is a mechanical spare, which would basically just be put back in service when one of the other vehicles goes out of service. And this is strictly so we're not down to one ambulance. We run 2 ambulances, we've been getting busier. This would give us one that we could put back in service, which we've sort of done this year when we had the other one. We got the new truck in, Millennium went back for its punch list and spent a month at the dealership. The other truck had to go out to have the turbocharger and a bunch of other stuff fixed on it, so we kept putting that one back in service. And we can't do that now because we didn't renew the ambulance license on it, because that's gonna replace the 1998 dive truck, water rescue truck, and that. But the idea is that you would see less use, less maintenance, at least the first 2 you need to keep in service, and that the 4-year one, if you had something the backup one, if you had a catastrophic failure on it, you don't fix it. It's not worth fixing it, but the idea would be to be able to keep the other 2, keep 2 ambulances online. at
These
any
are
given
all
time.
para certified.
Yeah, the primary 2 are all fitted out with ALS gear. The mechanical spare or reserve would not, you'd move the equipment over off the other truck, and that when you needed it for something. It wouldn't be like, okay, we're up to 3 ambulance calls, and you'd run that 3rd truck. You'd be going mutual aid at that point.
So, I think everyone knows I have my primary bias is not to add vehicles to the fleet unless we know we need them. Because then, your next replacement is the vehicle that you just thought you replaced, is kind of the, is kind of the mantra that I am a little bit resistant to. A lot resistant to, I guess, if you're Bill. I think I think I'm very sensitive to this issue here, though, particularly considering, the news over the last year plus with respect to Neshoba and
They are seeing a lot more use.
and what's happening with your department as a result of that. I'm also wondering, we saw some state money come this year that was, supposed to be oriented to these kinds of
No,
services.
no, we
Is there
haven't.
something?
So-
Yeah, we weren't included.
So we are receiving funding. The funding has now gone to DPH,
DPH,
and
Okay.
DPH is going to determine how those funds can be expended through some kind of advisory or regulatory statement.
none of the chiefs have heard.
And we have not heard one word of what allowable expenditures will be.
Right.
What I will say, that I've said to the chief, what I don't wanna do with those funds is I don't wanna put on ongoing recurring items
No, I
like
mean, this is like a
staff.
one-time cost.
Right,
that we-
so we would be looking for one-time type things.
Right.
But we don't know what those parameters are yet.
But yeah,
I like.
we know what the ask was same amount for every community.
Yeah.
And we don't know.
Well, it's a little frustrating here is to my knowledge, we have the money because our legislators spiked the football immediately when it was passed, so.
Felt like if it went to EOPS, we'd probably see the money by now.
Correct.
It went to DPH, and
Correct.
it's buried in DPH somewhere. Whether that was by design, I don't think that's anything against our legislators, I
No,
think that's,
but
ends at a
it's
different
frustrating
office.
nevertheless.
It ends at a different office down there, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Apparently they spiked the ball on the 1-yard line.
Right, yeah, it sounds like it.
Well, like you say, I mean, we haven't, the last time we added a vehicle to the fleet was 2009, that we increased our rolling stock. The department has changed
Well,
significantly since
if I
then.
understand it, adding this ambulance, the 3rd one, is not really gonna be running, it's just gonna be
It's a
there
reserve.
if
It's a
it's
reserve.
needed, so
Right.
it's not gonna be ordinarily incurring any expenses.
It should not.
It'd have basic
Basic
operational
Yeah.
expenses.
Oil change, stuff like that. If it drops a motor or a transmission, it's gonna go away. It's not gonna be worth fixing.
Yeah.
It's the idea to fill in, if you go to the next slide, I didn't update it for, actually, it was up to 2024, just showing our run volume. And then the next slide is the one I didn't go up to 2024 yet, but it just showed the amount of time that one of the trucks was out of service, either for maintenance, things like that. Unfortunately, the maintenance, they are maintenance intensive, especially to keep the state happy. And it always seems like if we send it to the dealership, it's never a one-day job. It's drop it off on Monday, pick it up on Friday. I don't care if it's to change a light bulb. It always seems to be the same thing.
One of these years, you had a police car crash into one too, if I recall correctly.
Well, technically it hit a police cruiser, but no, actually it did not hit a police cruiser, it hit a guardrail trying to avoid a police cruiser. That poor truck's seen, and that truck was hit twice head-on coming back from the hospital.
Oh.
That truck's had a hard life.
Wow.
And like I said, say back in 2008, 9, we retired an ambulance that's actually functioning as the dive truck right now. It retired at 47,000 miles. The 2019 is over 74,000 now. And the one that just retired is creeping towards 100. It's in the 90s, and that's a 2014. That's the difference in wear and tear and mileage that they're seeing nowadays. Any questions on that? Again, price would be, once we get closer to it, you get a better idea of the numbers.
Yeah, I mean, we also obviously need to make sure that as we get to this, that we've got a more accurate or
Right.
more precise number.
Absolutely.
The other thing that we obviously, and this is a conversation for a different part of the meeting, or ideally another meeting, is we do need to have a look at the special purpose stabilization fund with respect to these purchases as well, and think about, do we want, is that for big trucks or mid-size trucks, right? You know,
Where's
and
the
is there a $1
threshold?
million line, or is it a below $1 million line, or
Agreed.
whatever, right? Like, we gotta figure that out, so,
Yeah, I try to go in the worst case scenario, and then when we get closer, we'll have
yeah.
a more accurate number. So,
Do we need to adjust the timeline for the lead time?
that is something to be discussed. I have heard of some communities that have allowed chiefs to sign for these vehicles and then appropriate the money later. Ambulance is 48 months, the brush truck would be 18 months, ambulance is about 24 months, fire truck is 36 to 48 months right now. Whether that's gonna change, if you Google fire apparatus class action suit, there's a lot of interesting reading about how basically 3 or 4 private equity companies own all the fire apparatus manufacturers, and how that's affected the costs and have driven them sky high and caused them to, used to be a year to get a fire truck and 6 months on an ambulance. So it remains to be seen what comes of that.
I think that's something we should probably explore. The only thing I would caution you is, we gotta make sure that we do it right.
With the fun, having the,
Yeah.
I mean, this is just like,
Commitment.
this is like the payment discussion we had last
Right.
week,
Yeah.
right? Like,
I know a
the
town will pay up
appropriations
front.
policy and
Right.
committing and obligating ourselves is.
Correct.
Right, you know, and the a lot of the manufacturers, the dealers look and go, if you don't buy it, we'll sell it to somebody else. Because there's people
Oh, yeah,
desperate for them because they can't wait that long.
oh, maybe that's something to explore. Maybe those agreements that the chiefs were striking were to order it, but without obligating the funds, because they knew knowingly would be another buyer.
Yeah, we just need to know.
right? Yeah,
We just need to
Right.
know.
And getting it in the
Right.
queue, that was what came up with the ARPA funding
Yeah, ARPA,
for
yeah.
one of the ambulances, was to get it in the queue before the
Right.
prices went up
Yeah.
again, so.
Yeah.
it's still
I mean, and I think that, given the circumstances we're in, reasonable people in town leadership and town meeting would, see this as a reasonable conclusion.
Mm,
Yeah.
But we just need to make sure that if we go down that path,
Right.
we're doing it right, you
Correct.
know?
Absolutely. All right, next slide. So in FY '28 was replacing car one, Chief's car. We moved that out a year. The mileage is still relatively good. We put some money into it last year. It's been doing fine. And honestly, my time's creeping down. I would rather leave it for the next guy coming in and he can decide what he needs for a vehicle. I've always operated, I'm right here in town. It operates for me more like a city deputy chief, that I'm carrying equipment with me. I'm responding on a lot of calls. That could change with somebody depending on where they live or what they're doing. And it's not an issue right now. So I think pushing that out is not gonna hurt us at all. The car's doing fine right now. And like I say, it may give you some different options down the road on a smaller vehicle, different style.
Is that, so, I was gonna ask that question, is there a smaller vehicle option on these vehicles? Like,
It depends on what you
We had
want.
this discussion with the
Yep.
police chief a
Yep.
million years ago, where
Yep.
we went from the mid-size SUVs to the full-size SUVs and then back.
It's a function like, again, like the car that we're waiting to come in now, we went from an Explorer to a pickup truck because there wasn't enough room in it. With that, I gotta carry an air pack, full first aid kit, defibrillator, a bunch of other equipment with me because that's how I respond in town. If you had a chief that maybe was responding more as an administrative function and wasn't responding as many calls, they might not need as big of a vehicle. They could use something small. And that's why I say I think that's a decision to be made down the road and look at. I look at that, that's working for what I do and the way I operate, but, things are changing.
Yep.
So,
Okay, fair.
next slide. This one we pushed out a couple of years. That was on there for this year. We had a long talk internally. We put 65,000 into this truck back in FY '21. Replaced a lot of components. It was sort of a midlife extension. This is probably our highest use of the big trucks, but it's holding up pretty well. And we kind of all felt that engine 2 was the higher priority for this year. So we moved this out. Again, this truck functions as our heavy rescue unit, plus it's a pumper, carries pump, water, hose, but it carries a lot of the rescue equipment, light tower. We had a rough number for a quote of 1.3 million. Based on that vehicle as it sits, there were a lot of things that we would probably change. So I've stayed with my original number. If moving out a couple of years, that's a 5% increase each year, and it puts it right in that same range. But there's a lot of things, the lighting is different. We might not be doing some stuff with that. It's not gonna need the built-in JAWS system because everything's battery powered. Much more of the stuff is going to battery operated, which changes the needs of the vehicle. So that number is, again, probably on the high end for that.
What year is that?
That is a 2008. Got indoctrinated in the ice storm.
Okay.
Still got a few scars from it too. So,
Don't we all?
yes, we do. Next slide. Just kind of covered what I talked about. Again, it had an overhaul in '21. We originally planned it for '27, but we figured engine 2 was the bigger priority for this year. And it's in good shape. We're not seeing any big mechanical problems with it or anything like that. So I think we can push it out a little bit. And then maybe have a little more money in the special purpose stabilization by that time. Maybe things will stabilize with apparatus costs a little bit then too.
Okay.
You can touch on the next slide. We had talked about the grant funding. Again, we just tried for that with engine 2 because that was the only truck that would qualify. That may still be out there with anything federal right now. Your guess is as good as mine. My crystal ball doesn't work that well. This is what it was currently. It was an 80-20 match if we went for it. So for that truck, it would have been about 262,000 on our end. The brush truck would have been about 15,000 if we had gotten it. But they've kicked it up. The truck's got to be over 20 years old now. The truck would probably qualify for that end of it. But they also look at the average age of the fleet, and our fleet is still relatively on the newer side. And I recalculated that in FY '29, the average age is about 14 for the large stuff. Because the next oldest truck would be 10, 12 years old. So, and the other one would only be 7, 8, something like that.
It seems like a perverse incentive to let your vehicles age.
I'll tell you what though, when you go into like the flyover states, I was in Utah last week in the hinterland over that weekend, and I saw a running fire truck while I was out there that had like the open thing in the back, you know,
Yeah.
like like now you have doors on the
Yeah.
back doors, but this
Yeah.
is with the
Oh, yeah.
reverse seat and open air.
This,
So like that vehicle had to be 40 years old,
Oh,
I would
easily.
imagine, right?
Yeah.
Like, and
we,
it was running. It was like
we had
it
a
was an active
conversation
fire
about
truck, you know.
some of the old trucks, you could get 40 years out of them.
Yeah.
It's like everything else. Think about some of the old
But,
cars.
but like a lot of these rural departments in the middle of nowhere, they've got a lot of land to cover,
Right.
and they're running very old equipment.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we're competing with.
Right, that's the challenge. And yeah, that's what this kind of grant funding was designed for, to help
Yeah.
these people out. And it used to be a lot wider. Our Engine 5, the big brush truck, was actually one of the first AFG grants that we got that on. So now it's a lot tighter, and the trucks have got to be a lot older and that to get rid of, so. All right, next slide. Or I should say, any questions on the squad beyond that?
Now an affordable vehicle.
Again, FY30 is the pickup. Right now, the pickup's still low mileage. I forgot to update the mileage number. It's 35,409 currently. That truck, and that mileage will probably go down if we're not having to use it to run to the academy and that as much. It's in good condition with the Ford aluminum sheet metal, and the body is aluminum, so it's not corroding. We didn't go with a diesel engine on that, we went with a gas, so we've had very few issues with that. That's sort of our main prime mover, haul equipment back from fire scenes. We plow our own parking lot and maintain it, so it does that for us. Plus, we've got a snow plow, if we can go up, need to get up a driveway in a snowstorm. The officer can usually go out ahead of the ambulance, punch a hole through, get the ambulance in there. So that originally, we were at the 10-year mark on that, and it's like, the truck's fine. It can go out a ways. So, next slide. 30, this is the first batch of cardiac monitors that we bought when we went paramedic will be coming up in the 10-year mark. So I looked at spacing them over 2 fiscal years. 40 grand was basically based off the number we got when we bought them at 5% per year. That number may not be that high. The monitors can go past 10 years, but I do know a department that has older ones, and they just got, we can't service these anymore. We're not gonna fix them. So now they're in the point of, we have to buy a monitor, because we have to be able to show the state when they inspect us that we've had these maintained. And so that's basically just a planned replacement for that. And next slide, FY31 would be the same thing. That may be, we might retain one of them as a spare, and that'll be determined at that point, whether it's feasible or not. So FY32, it says replace the 2019 ambulance. This would be getting a new truck in. The one bought in 2028 would become the spare, and the 2019 truck would actually you'd get rid of. We'd dispose of it at that point. This is just working into that 3-vehicle cycle. And again, estimated cost, whether they're gonna go up that much, I don't know. That's based on a 5% a year off the last truck that we bought. So, never thought I'd even see spending $500,000 on an ambulance. Next slide. FY33 is the heavy-duty brush truck. This is the one that we got off an AFG grant. It would be coming around 30 years old at that point. Again, truck's in really good shape right now. After it tried to catch on fire, we fixed that. For an older truck, it's in really good shape. It's a brush truck, but it also serves as our functional reserve pumper, because it has a full-size fire pump, 500 gallons of water, a couple of air packs. It can function in that role. If I was still here by then, my thought would be to replace it with a small tanker, and that, since we have a lot of areas in town that don't have hydrants, but that's gonna be up to whoever's chief then, so. Let's see, next slide. And the next one would be out to FY35, which would be replacing engine 1, and when it would be 20 years old at that point. And again, that's based off of when we bought engine 4 in FY20 with a 5% increase. And that's basing it at that point on 20-year lifespan, which is, I've always figured 20 years on the pumpers, 25 on the ladder, 30 in the brush trucks, is how I've always based that. And again, we always kind of reassess it as we get nearer. That truck's our mutual aid truck, so that runs out of town, that one gets a fair amount of use, but right now it's in good shape, so. And I had nothing, oops, wrong way. FY 36, I'm sorry, was again, recycling, replacing an ambulance.
Wow, look at that price.
Yeah, again, that's going up 5% each year, and
Right.
it's, some years they've
When you get to $1
jumped.
million, 5% is a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and you know what, it's probably not gonna be that bad, but who knows? But
Right, who
it's-
knows?
I don't remember if it was you or Dave Passios that questioned me on that, and I took the number that we paid for the 1935 Mac and took it up to the 2015 engine. 5% a year is only 50 grand
Is
off.
that right?
For something that was like 70, 80 years
Wow.
old,
Wow.
so. Some years it's not, and
Right.
other years it's crazy,
Mm.
so. And I believe that was it.
Speaking of which,
Yep, there it is. There it is. And we have to fix something in the transmission and the starter on that right now.
Now, if we put that on municipal bid.
No, that one-
that would go for a while.
that one's a lot easier to fix. Only two guys can drop the transmission, it only weighs about 80 pounds.
Mm.
So, any
All right.
questions?
I don't have any. Gentlemen?
No, I'm all set. Thank you, chief.
All right,
Dean?
thank you.
All right. We're making good progress here. Let me bring up another deck.
Is he gonna go as easy on you? No.
No.
Okay.
I can't.
You're the only one that's got toys as bad as mine.
Yeah.
Okay. DPW. Let's bring this one up.
Thanks, chief.
That's what I was gonna talk to you about, I'll just email you.
I'm gonna
Nothing.
see you tomorrow at 9:45.
That's true. I'll talk to you then, because it was nothing big.
Do you need mine? I have it up.
It's-
It's in protest. You sure? Oh, you good? Okay. It's done. I couldn't get my mouse to work last night.
I know.
I could
No,
not
that
get.
was weird though. There's something going on with your
Yeah.
laptop.
Well, it was new as of yesterday.
Mm.
It's misbehaving.
All right, I guess I'm up.
Bill?
So DPW request, so let's go to the next slide, which is, an org chart, just to show, we're kind of small, right? We only have 6 people on the highway side and 1 full-timer in the cemetery and some seasonal help, and sewer kind of falls under me, but that's an enterprise fund, so it funds itself, so there's nothing there.
How are you doing with staffing?
Right now, we are fully staffed,
Great.
yeah.
It had been a while though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of the summer, short-staffed, and then we had 1 guy out for most of the summer, so we were really short.
Well, I'm glad we're back at it for winter.
Yeah,
Mhm.
oh, for sure. So the next slide kind of just explains what the highway division is, right? We do the roads, drainage, stormwater, signs, trees, anything on the road, we maintain it. And we got a lot of features, right? 90 miles of road, almost 1,500 catch basins, and on, right? The next slide is just explaining the cemetery division. We have 3 cemeteries, the 2 main ones north and south. We got the little one over at Fish Street. And then we had fleet maintenance, and I took a picture of the chief's truck because it's sitting in my garage.
Oh, is that right?
It is.
Right.
Right, so we take care of all the highway trucks and police and fire. So, always busy in the garage. The request can be broken down into 4 basic categories. It's truck and equipment, scheduled replacements, drainage infrastructure, pipe, culvert, bridge repairs or replacements, a salt shed replacement, and cemetery repairs. It's our 4 basic categories, and most of it is 1 and 2. The next slide is the truck and equipment schedule replacements. So the American Public Works Association says for a pickup truck, 7 years. The federal government says 6 years. We're gonna get 10 years out of them,
Hell yeah.
right? So, and on and on. So the dump trucks, you know, the Public Works Association, 7 to 10. The feds say 9, and we're going 14, which I think we can get out on.
Yeah, I mean, I think the trick is gonna be with the heavy dump trucks is we bought a whole bunch at once.
Mhm.
So we gotta think about how we're gonna stagger them.
Yeah, so that's a concern, but, 13 years.
It's a good
from
problem.
now. Yeah.
Good problem to have.
So those trucks are basically winter trucks only, so we're probably gonna get longer out of them, right? As long as we're taking care of them, which we are. So the next slide is a list of all the equipment and the scheduled replacement based on that chart. And so all the requests, capital requests are based off of this for vehicles. So the drainage infrastructure, we can use chapter 90 funds, right? There's, chapter 90 funds, basically anything on the road maintenance. You can buy some equipment too. So I put that in there, but the next slide shows my chapter 90 spending plan. And this is above and beyond all the capital requests. Although some of them, further out, I have various drainage upgrades. Some of these repairs are gonna be rather costly, so we might have to use capital funds, we might have to use chapter 90 funds, and we'll try to get as many grants as we can. So we just can't rely on chapter 90 funds for all the stuff I'm gonna request here.
Are we gonna get to a point where we're gonna have a, stormwater utility?
Well, that remains to be seen. There is an article on this upcoming special town meeting warrant for additional transferring old capital to fund the remaining consultant work at $42,900 that would bring the town to a point where they could present the option of a stormwater utility to the voters at town meeting. So we're at that point. We're doing the legwork and trying to obtain the necessary funding to do the legwork to present that option.
Right, so that would help with this effort, but it won't pay for everything again.
No, I understand,
Yeah.
yeah, but, I mean, every little bit helps, cause these are expensive things. you know,
Exactly.
they're
Exactly,
Big money.
so, yeah, drainage work is not cheap.
Are there things on this list that a utility would not pay for when it comes to like culverts and swales and all that kind of thing?
It can pay for smaller jobs, right? So what I have on here is the bigger jobs.
Right,
Right, maybe we could separate.
smaller jobs just because it's not gonna be funded to the level that would be able to afford it, or some other issue?
Right, so, well, what I mean is, like Mulpus Road, we paved that this year, and we went on and fixed all the drainage along the way.
Right,
It would fund that kind of job, right? We replaced some pipes, and we opened up some head walls, and got the drainage working pretty good over there now.
okay,
So it would fund that kind of work,
but it's not gonna fix the bridge on
but yeah,
Northfield Road.
so if we have a 72-inch pipe,
Right.
it's not gonna touch that.
Mhm.
And we have a few of those.
Yep. Okay.
So the next slide is my capital request for the next 10 years. There's a lot more on it than the chief had, right?
Yeah.
But look at that spreadsheet.
Yeah, it's a nice spreadsheet.
Note the colors.
I love those colors.
Yeah, could you, if you haven't already, Bill, can you send me that in a soft copy, like in a Excel file or
Yeah.
something?
Yes, and, yeah. So the file has this, that's what you see in, plus it has all the slides, and I just copied and pasted out of Excel.
Oh, okay,
Excel,
yeah, great. Yeah, but we need to do something like this for your laggard peers that didn't do this,
Yeah.
so,
So we're gonna use your base
exactly.
As the
document.
example.
Yeah.
Yeah, and build off of it.
Mhm. All right, so the next slide is fiscal '27, which is what I'm most concerned with, right? And again, it's drainage work and equipment, and the snow and ice, the salt shed. So let's get into it. So the first project is the Flat Hill Bridge over the Catacoomba Brook, which should be 100% complete, but we had a contractor that didn't follow through for us, so here we are asking for money for it. The amount of money I requested is $350,000, and I based that off of the bids that we got for the job. So the average bid was, what did I say? 1.13 million. And that was 2 years ago, so of course, price is probably gonna be up, so, we're gonna need money. We have some money, right? We have a grant from MassDOT for 600,000. We have 300,000 in FY '22 capital funds for this project, so I have $900,000 there. Probably gonna need another 50,000 for engineering, and I'm anticipating the construction cost of the bridge will be 1.2 million. Right, so I don't think we're gonna need 1.25 million for the bridge. We have 900,000, that's where I get the 350,000 from.
Have we expended funds on this already?
We have.
Some funds.
Yeah,
We have not paid anything to the vendor under the contract, right?
Correct.
Right, but we have paid money.
we've paid for the engineer,
The-
that was in
yeah.
FY
The
21.
Okay,
Yeah.
we can do that anyway.
Yeah.
But this whole thing with the contractor flaking out, that hasn't.
We have not paid
materially
them,
cost
Not
us.
a dime.
no. And, you know, there may be some associated costs with that going forward, which remain to be seen. But at this point, there aren't.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I think editorial commentary here, we started this project, we gotta finish it.
Well, and the bridge is now
It's
closed.
closed.
Yeah, it's quite a detour.
It is quite a
Yeah.
detour.
I think that, you know, this is one of these issues where you got, it's not like, you know, do we fund the schools? You're gonna have a neighborhood, right? You're gonna mobilize the entire end of town if we don't fix this.
Yeah, the
they
detour is
should.
what, 15 minutes
Yeah,
for some?
and, I mean, I think we gotta figure out how to do it.
Has there been any thought given to whether we have any recourse against the contractor for damages or anything?
Those discussions have been had.
Yeah.
They're unlikely to bear fruit.
Okay,
The representations made at a meeting with this contractor is this was going to be their last job as they wound down their operations.
okay.
Yeah, so a couple other things to note, it is closed to traffic. Mass DOT inspects it every 3 months, so it's costing them money to come out there, right? It's, you know, a regular bridge is every 2 years, and they're there every 3 months,
Yeah,
so. It's costing the taxpayers all over.
yeah. I think, just for whatever it's worth, I think if this does come to town meeting, we're gonna have to make sure that we've got a concise but adequate history
Mm-hmm,
on this project.
mm-hmm.
Because we're getting to the point, I think, where there's some emotion here.
Oh, there's definitely.
I'm sure you could speak to that better than anybody. But we wanna be able to present the facts.
Right.
And just the facts here.
Well, and you know, to the folks that are most particularly impacted by this project, the ones that live directly around it, there were takings for land for this project to happen too. So,
And is that done?
yes,
Okay, that's behind us.
but,
Yeah,
Well,
there's
except for one,
temporary
right,
easements,
right.
which we'll probably have to extend, so there's more
Oh,
work
yeah.
to do there, yeah. Which may cost us more,
legal.
yeah. Mhm.
Okay. So there's that too.
Mhm.
This one's a hairball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
Okay.
you had to use a MassDOT pre-qualified contractor on this project, and this was a MassDOT
Mhm.
pre-qualified contractor on this project.
All right.
all right, so my next one is a new front end loader, you're not gonna like this, Peter, I wanna hold on to that one.
Really?
I really do. So we rented one last winter, so we had two, and it made a big difference in operations. But renting a loader is actually more costly over the life of the loader to rent than to own, right? Did the math out here. So the rental last year ended up being $6,700 per month, or $80,500 for a year. You do the math for the 15 years, and it's $123,000 more to rent than to own.
Are we doing it for the year though? Did we rent this loader for the year?
4 months, just for the winter. So I got a better rental deal
Yeah.
this year, but it's still 5,000 plus a couple extras, so it's gonna be more than 5,000, but. So operation-wise, it was great in the winter. We could leave one in the yard, we could send one out on the road as needed. During the summer, do we need to? Most days, no. Occasionally, yes. It's the winter where it becomes critical to have two.
Okay.
Alright. So, the next slide. I always try to show a picture of the existing equipment and what the new one might look like.
Turns out not a lot different.
No, they don't change loaders all that much. Right, and the new loader would have a snowplow, we don't have a snowplow currently. That would help us a lot.
Is that just, it'll come with a bucket and a snowplow?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, they have all quick disconnect and get it right on off. My next request is for a 6-wheel dump truck with a salt spreader. So we currently have 4. We got 2 on order. They're supposed to be in this month, so that's 19
Wow.
months and counting. The previous truck, 2 trucks were 27 months. So, like the chief, we have those issues. And the biggest cost on these trucks is the upfitting. It's unbelievable. So, like the chassis is probably $120,000, maybe $150, about $150 on the bigger truck. Right, so the other $250 is to build them up, right, to put the plows and the dump and spreader on it. It's ridiculous. Trying to find better ways to do that, but there's only 2 or 3 vendors that do it. One of the smaller trucks we purchased with FY25 money, we kind of worked around that. We found a little shop that was able to fab it for us way cheaper, but it was a lot more work for us, right? And I don't know if they can do a big truck. Remains to be seen. So,
So, refresh my memory here.
mhm.
the intent is to run, like in a perfect world, we're running 6 of these,
Seven.
Seven.
So we have 7 routes for snow plowing and salting.
right?
So ideally, we'd have 7 trucks, so we don't have to hire out a truck. So I did a cost analysis on that, and it turns out, again, it's cheaper to go in-house than hire somebody.
And we currently are projecting this year we'll have 4 of the 7?
We should have, no, we should have
6.
6.
Okay.
Right, so we have 4 right now. The 2 more are coming, they said this month, so we'll see. So we should have 6.
Okay, and the 4 that we have right now, those are all new, or,
So one's is 15, 16, and then the
Okay.
other one's at 24, 25.
25?
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple of them are 10
A
years
little
old.
staggered.
Yeah. Yeah, and we kind of hit on it earlier, I think it was before the meeting, that the 2 newer ones are snow only, right? They have frame mounted spreaders. You know, I say 15 years for that truck, it'd probably go longer, especially the bigger one, you know, it's pretty heavy duty. We have a 10-wheeler, probably get a lot more life out of that one. So, but that's a problem for 15 years from now.
You'll still be here.
So,
No.
so you mentioned that you'd done some cost benefit analysis on that. Do you,
Yeah.
did you present that to us, or do you have a write-up on that?
I could send you the spreadsheet.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to take a look,
Yeah.
just to get an idea of what our effects are relative to
Yeah.
snow and ice for each one of these routes.
I recently sent it to the finance committee,
Okay.
so Chris has it, but I'll send it here too.
So, I can't remember, I lived in Lunenburg for most of my life, and when I haven't lived here, my parents have. I can't remember a winter where we didn't have contractors going up and down Pleasant Street and Brown Ave. Like, you know, I mean,
We still.
so, I guess that's what I'm getting to
Yeah.
here, right? Is like, does this, like, make that go away, or?
Bigger trucks, yes. So we won't have to hire bigger trucks with salt spreaders, which are, you know, depending on the size of the truck, size of the spreader, you know, $200 to over $300 an hour,
Right.
right? We won't have to hire those. We'll always need help
The
plowing.
people. We'll need to still hire the additional one additional person to go in one of these trucks though, right?
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah,
so the
seasonal
labor,
helper.
seasonal labor to drive it.
Right, but in addition to that, there's like landscaping trucks all over Lunenburg that are
yes,
plowing.
we'll always
side
need those
streets.
for plowing. Those are a lot cheaper, right? Again, depending on the size of the truck, you know, $105 to $200, depending on the size.
Okay.
And I guess, how did we arrive at 7 routes instead of 6 routes, for example?
It takes them about an hour to do a route,
Okay,
so they figured that out over the years, that
okay,
that's how the routes work. An hour is about normal. I spent a lot of time in MassDOT, most of the routes there were an hour. You know, if you get a heavy storm, snowing 2 inches an hour, that means there's 2 inches somewhere at all times.
sure.
Beyond
So-
that, it's really hard to
So
drive in,
it
so.
wouldn't be reasonable to consolidate 7 routes into 6 routes.
I don't think so.
Okay.
You'd have a decline in quality of service.
Sure.
Mhm.
And are these things going and refilling salt every route, every time, or?
Oh, no, you don't salt every time. You pollute the environment, right? So,
Yeah, so that's a plow route,
Yeah,
okay.
right, a plow and salt.
Okay.
Yeah, so they might plow, salt once and then plow 2 or 3 times and then salt again.
Okay.
Alright. And again, a couple pictures. That's what we're replacing, which we've already sold the old one, it's gone. The new one will look something like this.
What do we get for a used? highway truck.
Because it was basically a hunk of steel and not a truck, we only had $4,000.
Wow.
Yeah,
So it was literally recyclable steel. That was.
Pretty
It's
much.
getting that melted.
pretty much. Yeah, those trucks, they had the 06 and the 08, they were a bad batch or something, they did
Yeah.
not last.
Yeah.
So the next one is a 1-ton dump truck replacement, scheduled replacement. On the quotes, I did get quotes on pretty much everything. Most of them are this year. Some of the stuff that's on the out years is maybe 2 years old. I just bumped it up a little bit. And as we go out, like the 1-ton trucks, I added like $5,000
Okay.
as we go out.
Yep.
It's just an estimate.
But the 27s are. pretty solid.
27s should be pretty good, right? So, like on this one, I got 3 quotes from 76,000 up to 93,000. So I'm asking on the high side just in case by the time we get there,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Okay, so this is a 1-ton dump truck plow.
Yep. So these trucks are used every single day, right?
Mhm.
For every job.
And this is a Ford F-350.
Right, gas, if you went with a diesel, it would be a lot more money. You know, if you went with a 450 or a 550, you know, way more money, probably double.
Mhm.
But these do a good job for us.
Okay.
And again, pictures, there's the old one, potential new one. The next project is to hire a consultant to do design work for the new West Townsend Road drainage improvements. So there's pipes all over, I don't know, what did I say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's at least 11 that we've identified, couple pictures there that they're kinda ugly, there's no head walls, there's no guardrail. Some of these things
Where is this?
slide right off the side of the road. New West Townsend,
Yeah, well, it's a
so,
kind of a long road.
yeah, so between the Fitchburg line and what's up the Ashby line, so Townsend line. There's a bunch of them.
So this is not one specific spot, this
Right.
is multiple
Yeah,
pipes along that road?
Yeah, 11 different spots.
Okay.
So what I've found is there's no plans for these. And a lot of them looks like somebody said, hey, we need some drainage here, let's put in a
Mhm.
12-inch pipe.
Yeah.
Did it work? Yeah, it worked. Is it working now? Well, not so great. Right?
Well, they've probably been there for 50 years, let's just
Exactly.
throw in a
Right.
12-inch
Yeah.
pipe and call it a day.
Exactly, so some of these will flood over the road on
Mm,
yeah.
occasion, right?
Yeah.
Again, you can see on the pictures, right?
Mhm.
There's nothing preventing the car from going off the side of the road. There's no head walls, right? So these things can,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of rain can just wash out. We've had to fix them up, right? The top one, you can see all those rocks. Those were placed in there to stop, you know, washouts. So we're due to fix that road up.
Is this road like our worst offender when it comes to these drainage pipes?
I believe so, yes.
What's the ultimate project likely to cost, or you have no idea at this point?
Yeah, so it's hard to say. I mean, I got that in a future slide.
Okay.
I threw a number at it. But it's, until you do the design work, it's really hard to say.
Yeah.
I think most of them, I put 400,000 on. And for some jobs, this job, that'll probably work. Other jobs, at maybe half.
But this is design work for the whole road,
Yes.
right?
For the whole road or just for the 11, for the whole?
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the 11
Yes,
pipes, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but we don't have to do
Yeah.
11 pipes in a particular year, we can break this up, we'll have the designs are good for
Yeah,
seemingly forever, right?
yeah, right. So I just recently got a cost estimate for Goodrich Street over at Easterbrook. I don't know if anybody's driven it, there's a little dip going on there. We fixed it twice. I went over it yesterday, it's down again. The bottom of that pipe is rotted out, so it's just sucking all the soil in. So I got an estimate to replace that one, $112,000 just for the engineering. That's probably $1 million replacement.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a big pipe, it's a 72-inch pipe, it's further down here, but because of the width of the stream, it's gonna become a bridge, which makes it more expensive. A small bridge, but that's what happens.
Well, hopefully these things will be, will last a little longer than
Yeah.
these Mickey Mouse jobs that were done 50 to 100 years
Yeah.
ago.
You know, like we said, 50 years, it's not bad. You know, the life of a pipe should be about 75 years, so.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain that a lot of these things are well over 50 years. Like,
Yeah.
They don't probably owe anybody anything
No.
anymore.
That's right. Alright, the next one is to, more money for designing, again, to replace our salt barn. So salt barn was built in the 60s, I believe. It's getting kind of old, the roof has a hole in a few spots. It's been hit a few times, so the wooden structure is almost falling off the concrete structure. Another bad feature about it is we don't have a door, so moisture gets in there, right? The salt, when it gets moist, will turn into a rock. It's nasty. And another bad thing is, right now, where the salt barn is and where we load is maybe 300 feet away. And where we load is pretty close to the Mulpus Brook. So, you know, you dump into a truck, there's always spillage. It's unavoidable. So we're dumping salt probably within 100 feet of the Mulpus Brook. With a new salt shed, it'd be big enough, we can either load inside or right next to it, we'll put a ramp right next to it. So environmentally, it's a lot.
so this would be situated where the current shed is, or in that
Somewhere in
vicinity?
that area, yeah, probably not the exact same spot. You know, so we could construct it and keep the old one.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah,
but
but not,
pretty close.
but such that you're not loading where you're loading.
Yeah, right, so the new one will have a ramp.
Is there already a chloride impairment on Mulpus?
Not that I'm aware of, but we
Okay.
don't wanna create.
Turn off the camera.
No, that's pretty public record once there is one, but no,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, so there's no
Right.
chloride impairment,
Right, so we clean it
Okay.
up, but
good.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
That's
can only
good.
do so much.
Yeah, it's not good.
Right.
No. No, the new salt barn, it'd be a fabric style, right, so it's just a metal frame, fabric. Got a couple of prices, further slides, right, talking about, it'd be a lot cheaper than another wooden structure.
Do we, the current one is how old? Do we know?
Built in the 60s, I don't know if I found it. I guess I didn't put it in there.
You know what, I don't,
Best I could tell, it was in the 60s.
was that facility, oh, were we using that for some? Alright, Rob, do you remember?
I don't.
Cause I remember the old town barn on West
West
Street and Leominster Road.
I
And
don't
I could
know
swear
where
there
that
were
facility
sand piles over
is.
there at one point during my childhood, so I don't know that that's as old as we think it is. I don't know, there are plenty of people I'm sure in town who could tell us, but I just
Right.
don't know.
Then the other thing that I'd like to do is upgrade our operations by using anti-icing chemicals. By doing that, you end up using less salt. So MassDOT's been doing it, I don't know, over 20 years. The salt use has come way down.
And we can't do that?
We can, you just need money to do it, right? So you need tanks, saddle tanks on the trucks, right, and spray bars and, I'd like to outfit one of the 1-tons with a tank and a spray bar, so pre-treat the roads with liquid magnesium chloride.
So by doing that, you're not eliminating salt, you're
Reducing its
you're
usage.
reducing it.
Right. Right, so when you put the saddle tanks on the salt spreaders, as the salt's falling up the back, you're spraying it.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen
Right.
it done.
So-
Yeah.
It helps two main ways, is when it's wet, it doesn't bounce and scatter as much, so you keep it on the road where you want it, and it lowers the freezing temperature, so it works better. And salt needs some moisture to activate it, right? When it's 20 degrees and less, you can salt all you want, it's just gonna sit there with the ice, it doesn't do anything. So if you wet it, it works better.
So is outfitting the trucks for the anti-icing a capital item, or is that something you're gonna fund out of your operating budget?
I believe it'd be a capital item, part of this, I think we should do it together.
Okay.
Do the new
So this
salt
design
barn
work will
with-
do something,
Yeah,
will have some
yeah.
kind of feasibility.
Yeah, right, cause you
Component
need
to it.
storage tanks and a couple 5,000 gallon tanks, you need a pad for that, right, so that would all be in the design of the new
Okay.
salt barn.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, again, this is editorial commentary, more for our executives in the room. We'd want some optionality here, right? You know, like, I'm sure there's what we used to call a Cadillac plan, and then there's a Chevy plan, you know?
Yeah.
Like, we need some optionality here, because just as you're talking about it, I can imagine that we're talking very big dollars.
Right, so that's
Yeah.
probably it with, so this slide wouldn't really change. It would be that the scope that we would ask for under this
Right,
would
exactly.
be to spell out.
Exactly right.
Yeah, so I asked two consultants for a cost estimate on the engineering. I told them, don't dig into it too hard. One of them came back 200,000 just for the design, and one 150. And both have done similar work for other
And
towns.
that's bid ready docs, that's ready to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, now we're at the FY '28. How much do you wanna dig into the out years here?
That's a good question.
'Cause
You got a lot of
I
slides.
got a
here.
lot of slides.
Yeah, I think probably not. I think what we may do is give this to the committee to take a look at. We can either submit questions directly to you,
Mhm.
or even better yet, submit them to me, and I can consolidate them and read them out.
Yeah, 'cause I think there's a general cadence.
There it is.
So why don't you just identify what that general cadence is?
Right, so, like this one is, construction of Goodrich Street over Easter Brook. So I'm using chapter 90 money to fund the design, and now I need money for the
Yep.
construction. So that's how it goes here, I ask for money for design, and then money for construction, and then the other stuff is the regular scheduled replacement of vehicles.
Yep.
So that's.
And you've
the
got that
outlays
spreadsheet
just
that
go
goes them all
on.
up for
Right.
us too.
Yeah.
Is there any particular item or items though that you wanna call to our attention that you think we should look at, or?
On the out years?
Yeah,
I don't think so, it's
Okay.
just,
yeah,
Yeah, I think we give this a read,
yeah.
which apologies, I hadn't thought of this in advance, so, but, and then, you know, particularly since we have two members out tonight, we can consolidate some questions and then we can feed them back to you and read it out in a future meeting. But Bill, I gotta tell you, this is the best presentation I've seen this is my 4th year, I think, of doing this, so, I mean, congrats, this is exceptionally well done.
the bad news is we're gonna have you lead seminars and teach.
Yes, yes, that is, you just set the bar.
So this kind of style that he has put it in for you is what is generally the standard
This is
of,
what we want.
yeah, this is the standard.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Raising the bar, Bill.
extremely well done. You know I always give honest feedback, so I don't pull any punches. This is,
In
this is
either
very-
direction.
No, he knows. You haven't been here, he knows. So, yeah, this is great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's nothing I came up with, it's just,
No, but
what we've been
it's
doing for years, but
but
put it all
the-
together.
bringing it together in
Concise,
this,
yeah.
in this mechanism of presentation. Frankly, there's a lot more information on the slides, both from
Yeah.
Oh,
the
yeah.
pictures as well as the content and the organization of it, I think, is very well done. And I agree, like, I think this is something that all the departments should take a look at, and for next year,
Right.
we should, you know,
This,
I know we didn't have time
Right.
to do it right this year, but for next year, when Rob or Caesar are chair,
That'd be Caesar.
No,
you can enforce that.
if I'm even here.
these threats from everybody today. Where's everyone going?
All right,
One thing that I do wanna, just add to the discussion for, just a flag for future, when you brought up the special purpose stabilization fund, I looked up what the fund balance was at annual town meeting. So it's not a current balance, but we haven't added to it other than investment interest, right? So it was $2,553,972, so $2.5 million. I think when you have the discussion around kind of where is that break point, are we talking $500,000 projects, or vehicles, or only talking $1 million+ vehicles? We were able to arrive at a balance of 2.5 million because there have been a period of good years. And I don't foresee being able to make deposits into the special purpose stabilization fund for a little bit. So I just want you to be cognizant of that.
Should we, as part of our capital planning, be taking off chunks of some of these bigger projects and appropriating a sum in this year that goes into the stabilization fund?
I don't think with the need, we're gonna have the ability
Okay.
to, we have more funding need than funding availability.
Okay.
the good news is that we did it. when we
Correct,
did it.
absolutely.
And I've been very critical of your predecessor. This is one thing she did very well, and she knows that I think that, so.
And this is,
um,
you know, I
and
commented
we're very fortunate to be in that situation.
that we are, sometimes decisions that are made in a community have long impacts, right? So we are benefiting from the decisions made during those good years, for sure.
And to the select board's credit, we didn't drain that fund to buy
Oh, yeah.
4 dump trucks.
Right.
Correct.
Right? Like, we used some found money in the way of ARPA money
Yeah.
to, I mean, we spent $1 million, something like that, on those things.
$500,000 for 2 of them.
Yeah, you know,
Right,
to not do that. So, you know, the good news is that I think we can cover a little bit of ground.
Correct.
Right? Now, I think what we need to be thoughtful about this year is we're still gonna do our job like we do our job, which is we're gonna present to you a prioritization list. Where you land from a plan, from a proposal perspective, is not just the priorities. It can't be just reflective of the priorities that we give you. It also has to be reflective of the fiscal situation that you're grappling with,
Correct.
right? Which is, you know, free cash, all the other things, and money like special purpose stabilization funds that says, okay, you know, we're gonna fund a fire department project, and maybe we'll go half of that from a stabilization fund and the other half from
Right.
normal, you know, raise and appropriate and free cash funding sources or something like that, right?
And I'm probably in the distinct minority here, but I also, for large capital items, I'm not allergic to a capital outlay exclusion.
Nor am
I
I.
think I'm in a distinct minority.
Nor am I. No, Rob, I tend to agree with you. I think that the other things that we're gonna have to contend with is, first of all, the mood of the voter. Right?
That's true.
But in addition to that, like, you know, I think this track and field program is going down regular borrowing, right? And it's gonna be a big bite, and the service of that debt is gonna be no joke, right?
Right.
When you're talking about a couple of $1 million on a, whatever we borrow that for, but it shouldn't be more than 10 years, frankly, because the life of the turf is probably 10 years. You're talking $200,000 to $250,000 a year in debt service, right? That needs, you know, so we have to be the town manager and the finance committee needs to be thoughtful of the whole ball of
big
wax,
picture, right.
I think now where we have a new opportunity this year that was not looked upon as kindly in previous years is I think that the capital planning committee can bring some good advice and levity to these discussions when it comes to the financing, right? Because of the organizations that we represent and the experience that we have as members of this committee, I think that, you know, we can help, right? We can't direct, but we can help, not only in terms of advising you, but also,
If I think,
as I was put in the situation at town meeting last year, it's kind of like, okay, this is kind of how we looked at this situation, right? Relative to all of the other things, and I think we can be helpful in that.
and to all of you, you know, I think that I've heard some individual frustrations that have been expressed to me that you feel like you at times have sat in these rooms and for what purpose as you go through this. Hearing the discussions, the questions that you bring up, the institutional knowledge that you bring, your advice in this is not a waste of time. To me or to town meeting.
Yep.
It's critical.
I appreciate that, and I do think it's a little bit different now than it was in previous years. But I absolutely appreciate that, and I believe you. All right.
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. Well done.
And,
Anything to add?
Yeah, that zero emissions rule.
Oh,
Oh, boy, here we
please
go.
talk about this.
Here we go again.
Yeah, so, what they have, just looking at it, supposed to be in 25, 7% zero emission vehicles for the big trucks. They don't exist on the market.
Right.
So, in other words, you can't buy a truck now because they can't sell 7% because they don't exist. So there's an exception for towns only through 26, only through next year. So, and it's for trucks 8,500 pounds and up, and that's every truck in our fleet except for one, the one I drive.
I have heard certain senators who are being loud about this issue,
Yeah. it's-
but they're not in the majority party in
Well,
Massachusetts.
Yeah.
I mean, so, a couple of thoughts here. One is, we're not alone
Sure,
in this problem.
No,
sure.
And we're also not alone in our fiscal condition, in that we can't go out and front load all this to be compliant next year, and then, you know, we don't have to worry about it because we're good to go in 27, 28, whatever the out years are. It's just not feasible, right? So there's 400 and some odd cities and towns in Massachusetts that are all sort of
Yeah,
under this gun. And, you know, I think it was the governor that ultimately said, okay, move it out a year or two. And that's gonna happen again,
Right, if
right?
we-
Like, this is like it's like a government shutdown, right?
If-
Sooner or later, the dam's gonna break and we're gonna fix it,
if we
right?
can compare, if we can compare the deadline to the extension of the remote
Well, it's
access,
the same.
it was always at like the final hours that the legislature would take that vote, so
I guess that's my attitude.
we probably won't have a lot of lead time on this,
Is
but
we need to,
weeks before there'll be a vote.
we need to be aware of it.
Right.
We absolutely need to be aware of it, but I don't think there's anything that we can do in terms of prioritization that should be driven by that, right? Like, there's just, it's so likely that it's not gonna have teeth until it's feasible to react to it with vehicles that are on the market, right? Like, it's just goofy.
Where vehicles are, where we are definitely starting to see them though, are in the, not the big vehicles, but the smaller vehicles. You know, where this was something that was being, or for the equipment, a lot of the landscaping equipment, the tech is I don't wanna buy it yet, but the tech is starting to come
Oh, yeah.
around there. So where it was something that was being discussed 2 years ago at this last year's MMA, they had a whole EV green alley where they were really highlighting what was there. So it's that kind of smaller engine stuff is becoming more real.
Yeah, I mean, at
But
some
not this
point,
stuff.
at some point, you're gonna have a capital request for charging facilities. Like, I mean, that's just a matter of time, right? But
Yeah.
we gotta have something that we can,
I hope somebody will
Reasonably
pay for
afford.
one and just install it.
but we, you know, it has to be attached to equipment that we can reasonably afford and
Mhm.
makes sense, right? Like, I would prefer not to have a police car that is dependent upon a charge in an ice storm, right? Like, those kinds of things are, you know, the kind of thing that I think about. So, although we had a difficult time getting fuel during this storm too, but, you know, whole other story. Okay, good. All right, let me pull up my agenda. Okay, so I have the next item, discussion on draft fiscal policies. We only have 3 members, but
We
I
only
think
have
to
3
the extent we
members, so
can, we should at least
we won't-
get that ball rolling.
We won't discuss it necessarily, but I've got copies for everybody of what I did. And I just need to explain it a little because it's kind of cryptic shorthand in some places. But my only exercise in going through this was to try to annotate where things came from. So and unfortunately, I don't have a color printer, because all of my highlights
Oh,
on
boy.
my computer document are red.
So you'll send soft copies of this?
It's just, I can email it, yeah, because
Okay.
it's red,
Yeah,
and it's easier to see, it's gray here, but.
Yeah,
And what it is where something came from the bylaw, I put the bylaw in. Where something came from a policy, I put that in. And in some cases, there were, for some reason, there were substantive inconsistencies in the document from what was actually in the source. Just for example, looking at the multi-year capital improvement plan, which is item D on the 3rd page. My additions there and subtractions are to make the language conform to what is actually in the town charter, which was different than was in this document.
okay.
So, there wasn't a lot, but those, and I also, where applicable, but there was only one, I think, for the external references, they just had a chapter and section number. I looked that up and tried to give you some guidance as to what exactly that statute was. And there's no magic to this, it was just, I was getting annoyed because I didn't know where any of it was coming from.
and you were trying to get the one-to-one
Yeah.
Yeah,
between the two.
Okay, so if you could, Rob, share a soft copy,
yeah,
and we can get that posted with the minutes and also to the town manager for review, and then maybe we can bring back some thoughts on some of it. As I just rifled through it, one thing popped out in my head, like, oh, we gotta talk about that, so, but.
and
I don't
I
think
only
we have
I only did it for our capital planning section.
No, that's all we
I
want,
think-
that's all we want.
I think somebody has to do it for the whole document.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
I wasn't gonna do that unless somebody wants to pay me by the hour.
Yep, yep.
At your volunteer
On 6
rate or
minute-
your
on
actual
6 minute
rate?
increments.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Has finance committee started, getting through this yet?
So this is something that we were going to do with the new finance director and have a read through and then give them a red line, so
Okay.
Okay. Great.
that's probably tabled.
We do not have minutes to review or approve tonight. Is there any public comment?
No public comments.
Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Good night, Gene.